Hi everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, an invisible VTuber who forgot to load his model. Give me a minute here. This thing's a little finicky sometimes. Okay, should be good to go, showing up any second. There we go. How you doing? I'm Pabs, a rising VTuber and an artist, and today we're going to be drawing more of my girl Jinsen. I had a lot of fun drawing her last time, so I'm just going to keep going. I'm enjoying myself a lot, just sketching out random outfits for her, so we're going to keep doing that. That being said, while I was off stream, I did cook up two more on the digital page, but I do have more of them that I want to try and do besides these. I'm not sure if I should try to, if the best approach is to do the line art for all of them and then the shading and then the coloring, or how to approach that. I think I'll probably just start shading these two and then focus on line art and whatnot for everything else. I think that would be the best approach. You know, these two are already... Oh god. It looks so weird when you have a thing for... So, if you wonder what the difference between this, really crunchy line and this really smooth line from a distance is, it's an effect called anti-aliasing. So if I turn anti-aliasing to nothing over here, that creates a very crunchy line. If I turn it up to maximum, it creates a very smoothed out line. I've actually I worked with zero anti-aliasing for a long time while I was streaming. Mostly just because I found it easier to use with like fill tools and whatnot. But then I also found out that apparently anti-alias lines don't show up too good on printed goods. And at the time I was helping a friend out with a comic, and I thought, okay, let's just make the switch to aliased lines. And that was pretty much how it happened. But since these are just kind of low stake, and I'm not planning to print these at any point, I'm probably not going to print these. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to print these. Yeah, since I'm not planning to print these, I think it's fine to just go with anti-aliasing. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I have less nerves about it, I think. It might also be a reason. Okay, here's what let's do. I don't know. I feel like having a shirt the same color as your skin is kind of a weird move. So I'm just gonna grab a random blue from this texture and use that as the basis for the color. And then I can just make the texture a blended layer. I think that's the best way to approach. Did I post all my going live notifications? Yes, I did. You'd think that 5 years in, this is my 5th year of streaming, you'd think that I'd be like, it would be kind of like keys to, in the morning when you leave your house, you're pretty confident that your keys have been properly, how do I put this, that you haven't forgotten your keys or you've locked your door and everything. You'd think that it'd be like that, but it's surprisingly not. You can forget things at any time, and it's going to ruin your life. Okay, that's a bit harsh. You can forget things at any time, and it's going to have consequences. I think that's a better approach to look at it. Consequences is a very neutral word. Or, I mean, I don't know, though. I think that's just some bullshit that the teachers that I went to school with used to say just so I wouldn't cry when I got in trouble. Because they usually say there are consequences to everything, and you're like, oh god, here we go. It is true that not everything has a negative consequence, and really it is just a neutral word, but generally when somebody in authority says the word consequences, when they're throwing consequences around, that's when you know they're saying you'll be in big trouble if you keep doing something. It's kind of exhausting. I don't know, is this too much of a dark contrast for the shadow? I think it's fine. Yeah, I think that should be fine. Maybe I just need more contrast on like the shorts denim thing. On this little denim ruffle that I have. That might be what we need. But yeah, no, I have a very core memory of like of being in middle school, last few years of elementary school, and like having a bunch of of like the adults in my life be like, okay, there are consequences. There are like consequences to everything. Like there, you know, this is consequence of this. This is a consequence of that. And I remember getting that speech a couple of times. That or the one time I got it, it really stuck with me. Not in terms of its messaging. I still think that it was kind of a dumb speech, but I guess it is kind of a core memory. I don't know if the problem is that I'm not much of a troublemaker in general. So like I was a very good kid growing up, so I don't really have much experience with like consequences because I never had a reason to experience negative consequences. Except for a couple of times. But those were outliers. Let's see, how's that look? I mean... Okay, this looks better. And what I could do as well is I could probably try to make the edge of this clearer. God, recently I've been rewatching some of the modular Ultima videos, Ultima retrospective videos, and it's really kind of like I rewatched those, and you know, just for kicks, I also rewatched the Spoonie Experiment videos on the Ultima series because I remember watching those when I was younger, before he had like a generational crash out and turned into an awful person, I believe. And it's such a contrast in terms of just like production quality and kind of vibe that they have. Because on the one hand, like you have I feel like there's been a big shift in terms of maybe the product or maybe the goal of these in general. Because I feel like for, you know, the Spooning Experiment, it was very much just like, haha, make fun of, you know, enjoy video game and make fun of it at appropriate times kind of shit. You know, there were a lot of skits, there was a lot of random bullshit that happened in the middle of stuff. And it wasn't very focused. And it was very short, too. It didn't really go into, like, the production history of the Ultima series at all, which is a pretty core part of, like, the modular preamble. It gave me, like, a newfound appreciation for, like, the extent of work and the kind of informative... Nature isn't the right word? Like, informative... Vibe isn't the right word either. The intention to inform, I guess, would be a better term. Like, you can very much feel like that the modular videos are intended to, like, inform the audience about pretty much anything you could think of. And it even dips into other games made by Origin in like those contemporary periods. Like, it talked about Ace Commander, was it? Or Wing Commander. It talked about Wing Commander. It talked about, in the most recent one, it talked about Crusader, which had a really good, which was apparently very good, but not super successful by the corporate metric, which was a little bit of a shame because from what I saw of it, the game looked very interesting. Not go on GOG and buy it to try it myself, kind of interesting, you know, but, you know, pretty interesting. But yeah, it's an interesting contrast, and I think it kind of speaks to how gaming content, for lack of a better term. I don't like to use that word for, you know, the things that people make generally, but it feels fitting in this case. It shows a lot of like the difference in like even a single generation of content. Hey Ryan, how are you doing? Yeah, no, I'm it's like punk kind of emo, Midwestern emo. I also have her in a big hoodie. I don't know. Like, I guess This is, I think this is just a normal sized hoodie. I was gonna say it's a big hoodie, but it's not really that big. She's doing so many things. I just like drawing her. She's been a lot of fun to just de-stress and draw with. I feel at ease when I'm drawing her. This is her doing all the side quest missions after the conclusion of PNP. God, I do feel like if there were, I do think that if PNP was like an actual show, I feel like Jinsen would just be doing random bullshit at any given moment. Like she's like Sylvia in No More Heroes, where like when you call her, she's just like up to some random bullshit. And you know, she suddenly shows up at some point. I don't know. I don't know what kind of vibe she would have. I feel like that would be one option. That, or she just hangs out at the smoothie shop all the time and just stays in her blender. And that's why she's always so happy to see everyone. Like, otherwise she's just ruminating in her blender. PMP, the sitcom where Jinsen walks in with a hyperfixation of the week. That is, you know what? I think that might be the best solution. Like, during PMP, she is very much just like chilling out in the blender, just being careful not to be spotted by humans. But by the end of PNP, most of humanity is pretty much aware of the Pommesarians, or at least vaguely understands that now there are aliens running about. So I feel like it would be, if there is like a post-show sitcom, that would be kind of her role, is to just be the random wacky character that shows up with some bizarre hobby or thing to do that week. I do feel like she would try searching for herself a lot after Marjorie's passing as well, to get a little bit darker with it. Like, she's really trying to figure out who she is. Well, there's other approaches that can be taken. Okay. And we can just use this. Funniest scenario is that everyone knew about the Pommesarian invasion, but since they invaded in their armor, nobody knows they were slime aliens and just assumed Jinsen's a different type of alien at first. That would be really funny, actually. Oh, you one of them aliens, huh? Ah, good thing you're not one of those caterpillar freaks that's always in body armor. Say, what's that neat belt that you have there do? And she's like, nothing. Don't worry about it. I feel like I need to bring the highlights on this side a little bit further up. We simply do not worry about the ramifications. She's literally nice. It's just not a problem. Listen, we're here to have fun space-time adventures with our friends while they're still here. We don't have time to worry about the rammies. For just once, don't consider the ramifications. The thing is, as well, is that like there's just not that many Pommesarians on Earth, because because at the end of the series, the grand total of Pommesarians on Earth is Jinsen and Tarragon. You know, I assume that later on more Pommesarians would probably immigrate to Earth, or at least try to find something to do there. I do feel like there would probably be more there would eventually be some kind of buddy system implemented that where like a commissary could just like grab a human could be like, hey, I want to be able to like sponsor a commissarian and give them my DNA long term. I feel like there would eventually be some way to do that. That or they just figure out some one dude's DNA and then figure out how to tweak that just so that they could be using that guy's DNA forever. That reminds me of this one guy that donated like he was really famous because he donated a lot of blood and also because his blood had like a very specific property that just made it incredibly valuable. And so he not valuable as in like money wise, but just valuable for a specific type of illness. So they actually so he just kept giving blood because, his was really helpful and there was really nobody else who could do it. And when I think his name was like Ron or something. But the funniest part is that once they figured out how to synthesize the compounds in his blood, they called it something like Ron in a jar. Like that's how influential this guy was for the medical process on this one illness is that is that the nickname for the medicine that is being developed is based on his name. I don't know how I would feel about that if I was in his shoes, but I do think it is very funny. I think name in a jar as just like the name for a medicine based on you is just tremendously funny. I don't think you're allowed to be mad at that one. There we go. I think for the holes in the leggings, they would very much just look a little bit like egg yolks. Because there would be a little bit of surface, but then the rest of it would be like what's underneath that, right? Like the way that the light reflects just wouldn't really be conducive for seeing very much of the orange. I'm also wondering if I should change the name on the T-shirt because Galaxy Paradise is, I think, a Stevie Wonder song that I saw in a Wikipedia article one time and I wrote down. So I might just try to come up with like a band name and try to use that instead of Galaxy Paradise. I don't know. I feel like it's a good name for just having on a T-shirt as a slogan, though. Much to consider. Okay, and then over here, another little bit of glint. And we'll do something similar for the body of the guitar. I feel like people who love drawing guitars are like the less evil version of people who love drawing guns. You know what I mean? Like there are people who like really love how guns look and they love drawing them, but I feel like the people who love drawing guitars have the same thing with them, but like it's for a much more harmless object, so it feels more virtuous in a way. Okay, let's use this. And then we can use this over here. And we can probably add a little bit of texturing to the wood here. Okay, then over here. There we go. Okay, that looks good. I kind of missed the shoes. Let's just do the shoes real quick. There we go. But yeah, it's been kind of a slow day, thankfully. The first time I've really been able to say that about a weekend. I don't know, things are finally calming down at my workplace, so it's nice to be able to get some time back for myself, you know? I think I think that's just really valuable. I did briefly consider making the sneakers lime green like some parts of the outfit, but honestly, I feel like that might be a bit much. Okay. I don't know. I feel like I used to really like, as a child, I used to like really loud, obnoxiously colored shoes. But over time, I eventually kind of cooled off on them. I do remember I got myself a bright pair of red shoes one time as a due to being influenced by a specific webcomic, but I think besides that, I just really didn't rock with like super loud shoes. It is a good thing that like my job can necessitate wearing like fairly like kind of dress-y shoes, not dress shoes necessarily, but you know, a little bit dressed up. Mostly just because those are pretty easy to style and they don't have like anything that really holds them back from looking nice. I feel like black sneakers are just really tough to pull off eventually. Okay, I think that looks good. Let's try and do the one with the tablet next. This one's gonna be interesting because there's both a lot of skin and not. Like in the legs in particular, I usually cover the legs up, so I don't actually have much experience drawing the goo legs. The goo legs is where the Polisarian Emperor sent dissidents. I really like how the glasses turned out in this one, though. I know they're just two huge circles that I drew on with the vector brush, but I still really like them. You can like something even though it has simplicity, and there's a simplicity to it. I don't think there are conflicting properties in that. God. Last night I showed my buddy Leov, who was currently studying anatomy, the design for Jinsen, and he noticed a little slime producing bone that she has in her normal outfit. And since he's been studying anatomy recently, he was trying to brain out which bone in the human body it might correspond to. Apparently it might be related to like a pelvic bone, or at least it resembles it to some capacity. So that's something that I might look into as well, is just trying to figure out, or maybe try to make a better name for the bones that the Pomisarians have. Because they have two bones, right? Like, they have two things inside of them. So it shouldn't be too hard to come up with two names for those. I will say that there is nothing more fucked up than the names for like the bones in your skull, though. I saw the kind of diagram that he had of those, and they were like, it was like 50. There's like so many bones in your skull that it's kind of terrifying, and it doesn't help that like the kind of loose parts in the top are also they're each individual thing. It's all just kind of very inconvenient. I don't know. I know that it needs to be this complex to support life, but it's like I feel like we could have evolution that which loves simplicity. Okay, I shouldn't say that. That's a really big generalization. I feel like evolution would have simplified things at some point. Oh, this one might be this one might have legs actually. No pun intended. But definitely gonna. No pun was intended, but I'm definitely gonna make it now that I see it. It's important to avail yourself to any useful opportunities. Okay, but imagine someone calling a smooth skull as an insult. That wouldn't even really apply because like nobody's skull is technically smooth. Or unless you're talking about somebody whose skull is like fused together. I guess you could call them like one bone skull haver or something like that. Smooth skull might be good though. Smooth skull brings to mind smooth skin though. So maybe it's like some kind of reanimated skeleton calling his buddy that. I feel like that's the most applicable scenario for me. It's just reanimated skeletons using it as an insult for each other. But then you can't. The thing is, you can't really beat Bonehead as an insult between skeletons, right? Like Bonehead is kind of untouchable. Got it. If you think about it, the insult Bonehead is kind of dumb. Like, yeah, that's where the bone should be. What do you mean? Or I guess it's meant to say that you don't have anything besides bone in your head, so you don't have a brain. Hard to say. It's really funny that you can append like head to anything, and 90% of the time it'll sound like some kind of schoolyard insult. You got knucklehead, bonehead, blockhead. Head is very diverse as a term. I've never understood it being used for like whatchamacallit? Like being a fan of something though. Like I know for example, Grateful Dead fans are called Deadheads. So maybe that's the only one where it's felt natural because it rhymes. Much to consider. Maybe the head part is like the thing you're into occupies your thoughts too much. Maybe so. You know what? Maybe Deadhead was also originally a prerogative. And you know, maybe they took it back, so to speak. Okay, and then over here. These are too thick. Hang on. Maybe if I shrink the area a little bit. So maybe by like 5 pixels. Like so. And then just cut out large swathes of this. I feel like this is working. Yeah, honestly, that'll do. You can make the alt of this where she has the swirly glasses. Oh, I like where your mind is at. I also do wonder if maybe there's something funnier I can put on her iPad, because right now it's just on like a lock screen, but I do wonder if I should put anything on the iPad. I was originally considering putting a screenshot of Ballad, but I feel like Jensen wouldn't be much of a gamer. Or like she would. I feel like Jensen would like find out about video games, play them for 3 months straight, and then be like, okay, I should never do that again. Like she'll get hooked on Minesweeper for 3 months straight, and then like never again touch a video game because like she recognizes that they pull her in too hard. Honestly, these earphones look a little bit like watermelons. Just the way that I'm coloring them. There we go. Actually, maybe we can add a slightly lighter tone as well. Yeah, that looks good. I think I should also add a shadow to the eyes as well. There's like a little bit of residue left behind by that fill tool thing that I did earlier too. That's too much eye shine. Maybe like this? No, that's also a bit much. Maybe I can just go like this. I've never drawn her with pupils before. This feels wrong. Okay. Actually, I might just decrease the surface area of the eyes as they lead in towards the middle. Okay, that seems good. Now let's try and do the legs. Yeah, like this. Or maybe not. I don't know, maybe I need to decrease the saturation on these leg shadows. Let me blend these out a little bit and see how we might be able to achieve that. Something like this. Okay, and then like this. There we go. And actually, what we can maybe do is do a little bit of the blending on the light part as well, just so that it's less intense and it's easier to get used to. I don't know how to. Maybe if hang on, I have a method that I use for this. I used to wand select stuff and then use the airbrush a little bit. I wonder if that's still gonna. No, that just makes it look like she's missing a tan. Maybe just like a simple line along the sides. Yeah, I think this might be the move. Yeah. I think this is it. And then kind of like... Yeah. This is it. This is what I needed to do. How am I gonna do this for the other leg? Right. There we go. Oh yeah, have I told you all about Thomas Jefferson Jackson C, or whatever his name is? It might be Thomas Henry Jefferson C or something. It's a really good Wikipedia page that I found recently. I think it might be one of my all-time favorites just for how it kind of carries itself, for its kind of like general bearing and the way that it kind of presents its information. It's very contemptuous. Contemptuous? That's not a word. Or maybe it is. Like, hang on. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's just go see the page. So, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was like one of the founding fathers. I think that was a guy from Hamilton. Jackson C. No, okay, it is Thomas Jefferson Jackson C. Alright, peep this. Where's my web browser? Alright. An American astronomer whose promulgated theories in astronomy and physics were eventually disproven. Not a great start. His educational and professional careers were dogged by plagiarism and conflict, including his attacks on relativity. Gets worse. He was fired from his position at 2 observatories, eventually serving out his professional years at a naval shipyard in California. Kind of neutral. Alright. He attended the University of Missouri, graduating in 1889 with an undergraduate career that was outwardly stellar. He achieved honors distinction in nearly every subject, became his class valedictorian, and was the recipient of the Law's Astronomical Medal for an original thesis on an astronomical subject. However, his speech was a plagiarized version of an earlier speech given by another student, and his original thesis was claimed to be original work, but was just from prior work by Sir George Darwin. C was also a critical player in academic insurgency aimed at ousting University President Samuel Laws in favor of C's mentor William Benjamin Smith. This plagiarism and bitter infighting set the scene for a career perhaps unrivaled as an example of wasted talent. Like, Jesus Christ, he's already dead. You don't have to do him like that. Oh, God. The Red Sirius controversy arises because modern observations show that Sirius, the star, is white in color, and the very strong realization for modern astronomers that a reddish color for Sirius in antiquity is essentially impossible by any mechanism of astrophysics. C published 6 papers on the topic, making shrill attacks on critics and ignoring substantial number of texts from antiquity that described Sirius as blue or white in color. C's obsession with what is now considered a fringe area only served to further distance the Maverick from mainstream astronomy. But yeah, no, they just completely they shit on this guy so thoroughly. It's kind of incredible. I do enjoy a Wikipedia page that just kind of like rolls up its sleeves and hits a guy with like a cartoon dust cloud of violence. It keeps you humble. Usually people take having a Wikipedia page as a measure of like not necessarily success, but like notability. But it's important to know that you can also be such a dipshit that you have a Wikipedia page dedicated to your memory, assuming you have a sufficient impact on history. I think this is what the plot of Fate Stay Night is about. Okay. Hey, Grand Blast, how you doing? We are working on more sketches for Jensen. Hang on, let me zoom out so you can get a look at what we've got cooking so far. I think I'm getting a good sense for how to render the kind of like shininess of the goo. So I'm feeling very happy about that. Lover, thank you. It is nice to draw her just like with a more neutral expression like this, since I draw her so frequently just like having a huge open mouth that's like in a broad smile. It's a nice change of pace. That reminds me, I need to do something about the metal on the guitar here. I can also add a little bit of detailing to the knobs. That does remind me of a story that I heard one time about like a so-called disaster person. Like there was this dude who was helping out to prepare for like a hurricane, I think, or like a flooding or something. And for whatever reason, his areas were like the most critical areas of failure. And, you know, based on like the facts of the story, it's pretty clear that like this guy was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. But the entire town that he was from kind of took it as an omen that he was like cursed or some shit. And so they even had like a jury trial and everything to try and persecute him for it. It was a rough scene. Okay. Pretty good, but I think we need to add just a little bit of light over here. I need to start listening to more podcast stories again. I feel like I might be in like prime time to start listening to them to get the scoop on some bullshit. This is how I'm gonna gain my superpowers. Okay. That seems good. Although recently I've been listening to one. So the other day while I was doing some work in the kitchen, I was listening to one called Business Wars, which was recommended to me by my mom when I was talking to her at one point. And it's a pretty interesting one because it's like a dramatization of several like key conflicts between large brands. Like the first season that they covered was between Blockbuster and Netflix. And it's kind of interesting seeing like the seeds of like everything about streaming services being planted right then and there. Because originally Netflix's streaming service was seen as like a very quaint but ultimately harmless thing. And that couldn't really challenge cable. And then the global recession hit, and all of a sudden people wanted to, the youth was watching stuff on their computers. Nobody wanted to pay for cable anymore. And all of a sudden, Netflix's streaming service seemed like a really good option. I don't know how to put it. Like, sometimes you hear about these stories, and it's like you can see the origin of so much start to like spiral out of control. Or rather, you can see like a lot of parallels that you're like, oh man, that's how that came to be, huh? It's a little terrifying, to be honest. But it's in the past now, so it can't really harm us. I always loved when DVDs would arrive in the mail. That sounds like so much fun. I was living in a country that didn't really have Netflix as a service when like DVDs by mail were a huge thing. So that always seemed like such a novel idea to me. Like, you're telling me you could just like go online and get yourself a DVD from like a website? And it's not pirating? What do you mean? I'm confused. It's crazy. I do feel like, I don't know how to put it. Like, I feel like now, just because we've done so much stuff digitally, it feels like a lot of what was taken for granted in the pre-digital era just feels like such tremendously out of scope compared to like what we can do now. Right? Like for example, this DVD by mail thing was super common back in the back when it was active. Like, it was seen like as a pretty normal step to have, as a pretty normal evolution to leverage the internet for these like video sites, right? But like now you think to yourself, okay, so the idea is that you would like get this thing by mail and then return it to a physical location. And it's like you think about how that would work, and it's just like everybody would complain about it being too inconvenient. It would be like difficult to grab back in the DVDs. Although I imagine there were some DVD thefts, regardless, back when Netflix still did their mail thing. I'd be interested to see in like what measures they took to prevent that. I guess it's not really a measure so much as it is like an extra fee that they charge you, right? If you don't return the DVD. Like, I'm kind of curious about how a lot of the pre-internet logistics thing took place. Like, even with stuff like print magazines, right? That kind of interests me as just an industry, because magazines used to be everywhere, and you used to be able to get a magazine for friggin' anything. Right? There were like all kinds of magazines being published at a time. And almost all of them were able to be delivered by mail, instead of it being like some kind of fucking stack exchange or Substack, I think it's called, and some kind of Substack newsletter, right? That seems like vaguely evil to me. Yeah, like Blockbuster or the library. Yeah, I feel like that's the most sensible approach, honestly. No, it'd need to be lighter, I think. I love leafing through model train magazines as a wee lass. Aw, that's so cute. I do remember having a grand old time looking at the Sky Mall catalog on an airplane, knowing full well we would never be able to get any of this stuff. There's just something very enchanting about flipping through a catalog of some bullshit that you know you're never going to be able to get, or even like fantasizing about having it, even knowing that you're not going to be able to get it. It's the appeal of window shopping, I think. I love window shopping, right? Sometimes I generally don't enjoy shopping very much, so I don't window shop very often. But if I am just like on a website and I see some random products around, I'm gonna leaf through them. I'm gonna check what's good. I feel like there is an art to window shopping. I feel like I am too decisive to go window shopping. It's very strange. Like if I go like shopping for some random bullshit, I usually just go like, yeah, you know what? I'll get it. I'll buy it. Why not? But if it's like something that's really meaningful to me, I'll have to like convince myself 5 times over to actually make the purchase. I don't know, maybe because it's more meaningful to me, I have a more difficult time making decisions. At least I hope that's it. It could also just be that I'm terminally unserious. But I'm not ready to deal with the consequences of that. Like, it's also why I hate online shopping. Because, especially in situations where, like, they have, like, 50 dozen products, like, some people love browsing Amazon. I hate having to pick a thing on Amazon because I'll have to, like, I'll get, like, 15 different results and I'll have to think to myself, okay, this is going to work for my space. Which one do I want? Which one has a good vibe? Am I sure about this purchase, etc., etc.? Terminally unserious is such a good phrase. It's one that's good to be aware of. I first heard it in the context of people who always leave assignments until the last minute and then are able to clutch it. And ever since then, I've just kind of like had it as a thought to myself. It's kind of entered the old brain cabinet. Joy boy moment. Terminally unserious as a joy boy moment is that. Wait, actually, that's kind of awesome to think about. You know what? Maybe I should take being terminally unserious in stride. Not as like a mechanism for avoiding decision making, but rather as just not taking things too seriously in general. Being able to laugh even in the worst circumstances. Maybe that's a shift in mindset that we need as a society. I have been thinking to myself a lot that I really like that Joy Boy's whole thing is just laughing and having a good time. Because I remember seeing a lot of the theories for what Gear 5 would look like floating around, being like, oh, it's gonna look like this, it's gonna look super tough, super scary. But no, it's just a silly guy. It's just he makes cartoon noises when he moves around and he doesn't stop laughing. And it's like, you know what? This is why Oda might just be kind of unmatched in the marketplace of ideas. This is why we pay Oda the big bucks. Because it is an answer that I think very few people would have thought of. It's usually when you try to make something grand, you try to make it very serious and very, like, aura farmy, if that makes sense. Right? You want to be able to do something that looks cool. So it's kind of antithetical to think to yourself, okay, let's do a silly one. But if you bring it around to enough of an extreme and you show that, you know, even though it is silly, the effects it has are very much serious business. If it gives the audience what they want to an extent, right? Because like whenever you see Gear 5 happen, it's like, okay, this is gonna be fun. I'm getting my popcorn, I'm kicking up my feet, and I'm getting like a beer or something. Because I'm expecting to have a great time now. It's helpful. It's good for it. It both it shows that you are kind of paying attention to the stakes, and also that you're not afraid. You're not afraid to keep things light, even with the stakes as high as they are. But yeah, $5 trillion more dollars to Eiichiro Oda. Okay, here's what we got to do. I'm gonna make her just a tiny bit bigger, and I'm also going to hang on. I'm also going to grab her head. Okay, if I merge these and put them over here. I love when Luffy tries out a new attack and removes himself from the battle Looney Tunes style. It's so funny. Because it also shows that even he's not sure what exactly the limits or the dynamics of Gear 5 are. It's kind of fun. It adds an element of discovery to it. Okay, let's try this. There we go. A little to the left. Okay, and now we have to make a very smooth spiral. Okay, 1, 2, 3. We've always changing up his moveset, and now he's got maybe the most expansive bag among the Battle Shonen protags. That is true. God, that actually reminds me of a tweet that I saw the other day saying that. First of all, okay, so it's a well-known fact that Goku has stolen like 90% of his like big moves, right? The Kamehameha, the Spirit Bomb, the Kaioken, fucking he steals pretty much whatever he can get his hands on, right? Somebody joked that Vegeta probably stole all his moves too. Okay, 1, 2, 3. There we go. How can I make this look more like a smile? Oh, that's good. Maybe just a little bit more like this. Or maybe I should make the swirly parts blue. I don't know. It's kind of a geeky smile, I feel. Hang on, maybe I should make her drool a little bit. Maybe not. What I could do is probably make the smile a little bit smaller. Or maybe wider. Let's try a couple different things. Oh yeah, that's nice and big and wide. I don't know. Is this cooking? Is this something? I feel like there's something here. Maybe if I just made it. Maybe if I kept the curvature of this, but made it a little bit smaller. It kind of looks like she has clown face paint on like this. But yeah, no, this feels like the right move. Okay. Clown Jinsen. I could probably add like a clown version or like a jester version. Jinsen the clown. Why does she suddenly have the will of D as a clown? She's gonna usurp Buggy. God, that would be really funny if it. Just thinking about the idea of some rando in the Grand Line, or maybe even not even in the Grand Line, like in the East Blue or some shit, being like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. My job as a notary is just not working out. I'm gonna go to clown school. I'm gonna come up with a fun name for myself. How about the clown? Jinsen the clown. Yeah, that's good. And then like 3 days later, he's like waking up in Mary Joie's, just like strapped to a table. Like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Why am I here? I really like that the fandom has taken to calling the guy who originally asked Roger about the One Piece, and they've taken to calling him Ask the Question, which I also find to be very delightful. The Will of D, again, is just another awesome concept where if you just have the middle name D in your name, it just automatically makes you a badass for whatever reason. I think this looks nice. Okay, wait. Let's do one more. Let's do one more with this. Okay, so here's what let's do. I'm gonna fill this in. I love it when they actually called Sabo Sadibo. Is that his actual name? It's so funny because I know about a lot of the most recent stuff in One Piece, and I know a lot about like the earliest stuff in One Piece, but I haven't actually read like parts after between the time skip and stuff like that. So I don't actually know that much about Sabo and what his deal is. It's just a gag as far as I know. Okay, that's also really funny. Gaussian blur. Wait, is this even doing... Okay, that didn't really do much. Let me try this again. When they were a kid, Luffy came up with it. Luffy just inadvertently changing his adoptive brother's entire life trajectory. Okay, seriously, what is happening? Why? Okay. Hang on. Where actually... Okay. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Just new layer, use the fill tool, and then we use the Gaussian blur. Xenoverse cover art Jinsen. God, it is a shame that I never established whether the Pomassarians had bioluminescence. I think it's fine if they don't, but it would be really funny for a situation like this. We'll just say that she swallowed a flashlight. Jinsen when she hears that there are villains afoot. Jinsen when there's an opportunity to beat the evildoers. Okay. Those are pretty good. What other outfits did I have in mind? Oh yeah, there was this one that I did see on... I don't know if it was a red node? It might have been. Let's try and use a model in a different position. I need bioluminescence except for the part where I have to fall asleep. Yeah. That's the one thing that I've always thought about, or that I've only thought about recently, is the fact that if you're bioluminescent all the time, it would suck when you're trying to go to bed, because I have an alarm clock that has like a backlit screen, and I have it on the lowest settings, and even then sometimes it bugs me to look at night. What pose would be good for this? I like that I just have a pose in here called Feral Crouch. This one feels a little bit too assertive, if that makes sense. Like, maybe too confrontational. Yeah, maybe this one for a different outfit. Oh, maybe like this. Although maybe switched up like this, just so that the hips are not on the same side as the one where she has glasses. This one could also be good. Actually, there's one where that's like dancing. None of these really call out to me, though. I think we'll just stick with this one for now. Honestly, bioluminescence does just seem like a pretty sweet deal for the most part, unless you're like trying to use it to run away from predators, in which case I imagine it has its ups and downs. Okay. I don't know. I wish we could talk to bioluminescent animals just to see what their read on their physical abilities are, because I imagine some of them are big fans of the fact that they can glow in the dark, but others are like probably not. You know, it's like how some people like to run, but others don't really enjoy it that much. Like, I feel like bioluminescent bugs and creatures must be aware they're bioluminescent to some extent, right? Like, I feel like it's pretty tough to glow in the dark and not know that you glow in the dark. We probably shouldn't ask anglerfish, though, because I feel like they might have especially biased opinions about their own bioluminescence. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen a picture of an anglerfish. I remember, maybe it's because I was influenced by Finding Nemo, but I remember that when I was a kid, having a fish that could just like have a lamp on its head and just eat people, or eat other fish by attracting them that way was Kino. Probably take it for granted. You know what? They probably do. They probably don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay. And maybe not this pose, because this one has like fairly long sleeves. Ooh, maybe what we could do. I don't know how much this is gonna take to rearrange. Maybe she's just like stretching. I will say that while having the range of motion for the mannequins unlocked has been a huge blessing, I feel like sometimes it is a little bit difficult to keep track of like the normal range of rotation for human limbs. And probably with the ankle rotated a little bit. No, let's just put that back. And this way we can just have her avoid having a similar expression to the one with glasses, because she'll be like with her eyes closed and stretching. Yeah, that seems good. When posing action figures, I always gotta stand up and see if I can actually do the poses I put them in. Yeah, for me, it's more about taking a step back and seeing if they make sense just in the typical space. But that's mostly because I use digital figures. Everybody has different workflows as well. I don't know. For me, a lot of the struggle is actually coming up with the pose itself. So having this kind of backup bank of poses is generally just kind of a lifesaver. I've noticed that I have some difficulties coming up with like original poses and stuff like that, but I'm not sure how to remedy that besides just like moving my own body and trying to come up with those poses myself. If I ever use Clip Studio Paint, I'll be right on those. Hell yeah. Okay, and that's gonna go like this. And this is gonna go like this. There we go. That reminds me, I do need to try and figure out how to upgrade to the newest version of Clip Studio Paint while spending as little money as possible. Because I've seen some features on version 5.0 that seem really interesting. But also I haven't upgraded since version 3.0, I think. So I might be cooked. And I might need to spend quite a bit of money to upgrade my version fully. Hmm. Three, four, there we go. And we'll cut off the sleeve around here. But yeah, these have been really enjoyable to do. Just because I feel like I don't get to finish quick works like this in my day-to-day life. So it's a nice little treat for me. Her pose is really cute. Thank you. I might just need to stretch out the shirt a little bit here. Okay, and then that's gonna go like this. There we go. And yeah, this seems like the right call. Okay. And the jeans will have... Okay, so they were kind of like this. I'm basing these off of outfits that I drew randomly in my sketchbook, which is why I'm not really thinking about the outfits too much. But I do need to think about the poses quite a bit. Okay, and then... No, that... Okay, maybe not that one. And then... These jeans are supposed to be, like, super baggy. I've never owned, like, a super baggy pair of jeans. I've had pairs of jeans that are a little bit too big for me, but I've never had, like, a... You know, like Junko jeans, for example. I don't think they'd really suit me just in terms of how I'd wear them. Like, their comfort level probably wouldn't be very high for me. I don't know, I feel like I'd get worried about it and constantly stepping on them while I'm outside. Okay, then over here. I'm good at wearing like very standard cut pairs of jeans though, like the ones that don't really hang too tightly or too loosely. I feel like those are kind of my jam. Okay. How's that look? I think that's pretty good, but what was I gonna do with the shoes? Because I think that in the original outfit they were like some kind of sandal, but I don't think that's really gonna go well here. Plus, I don't want to draw sandals again right after I finish these ones, which I haven't shaded now that I notice. There we go. Order is once again returned to the world. There we go. And let's just change the position of the hand here. So it's a little bit of a closed fist. And curve that up. Okay, interesting. Not how I would have expected that to work. Hmm. And I can also give her like some kind of platform shoe here. Ooh, wait, I know. There are I don't remember too much about my university classes, but I do remember one class that I had with a girl who had just these massive, massive platform sneakers. Like they were nothing like I'd ever seen before. So I just like took a few random looks at them, and they really stuck to my mind. So maybe I'll give her something like that. Yeah, like this. I remember them particularly because it was like they had one sole, and then like on top of that, it was another pair of soles. It's a lot. They looked a lot like monster truck suspensions. It reminded me a little bit of that aesthetic. And then we can just extend this back here. There we go. I think I overcooked the mouth. Maybe I need to do something more simple. There we go. All right, let's get coloring. Also, I'm gonna remove the two little things that I added here. I don't think they actually add very much. I do want to maybe change up a little bit about how the neck is formed here. Hmm. There we go. Okay. From what I remember, the outfit was like this kind of darkish colored shirt. But it had white stripes. Let's lay out the flats first. Yeah, very light blue jeans. That's good, that's good. You know, maybe I should try to look up some random, like... This is gonna sound like a weird word to use, like meme outfit, if that makes sense. Like, I remember a long time ago, keyhole sweaters were really blowing up, so maybe I need to, like, look into a database for those, but I don't know where I would look for that exactly. Okay, maybe just a slightly darker color for the leg on the right here. That's looking good. Maybe I need to make the jean leg a little darker as well, though, because I really like the contrast that this is giving. What we can do is probably use this lighter shadow color for the actual shadows on the front leg. Yep, like that. And then like this. Perfect. There we go. And just a little bit of this. Perfect. What was this whole campaign Jinsen's from called again? Okay, the name of the campaign was called Kamen Rider PMP. The name of the TTRPG we used for the campaign is called Panic at the Dojo. I cannot in good faith recommend the use of Panic at the Dojo. Like, it's not a bad system, but I'm just saying check out other options that you have before you maybe settle on that one. Yeah. Grandblast, are you in V's server by any chance? My friend Ryan, who was a GM for the campaign, posted a summary document for the series. So I could try to link it to you. He was kind enough to write out an entire summary of what happened to the campaign, so you can read about the story there. No, don't got Discord, but I've been considering getting it. Tell you what. Well, hang on. Let me see if I can get you the Google Doc link through Whispers on Twitch. Taicha server is one of the ones I'm interested in joining it. Do get in if you get a chance. Let me see if I can get it to you. Hang on. Open up Twitch. Whisper. Okay. I sent you a Google Docs link for the whole thing. Let me know if it works. If it doesn't, I will find a way to get it to you if you want to read it. I could probably close this window here. I do want... The thing is that I do also want Jensen to have, like, a little bit of paunch to her. Like, not a whole lot, but maybe just a little bit. Like, especially in outfits like this where her belly is covered. It feels like... Funcionó? Qué bueno. It feels like it goes against my principles to make a character who's too skinny, but sometimes you just kind of want to make like a real thin person to throw around and fling around. But yeah, I think the reason that I've had so much fun drawing her is because she does have like a very versatile body type, and because I do feel a lot of personal attachment to her. Maybe like this. There we go. Kind of like this, and then... Yeah, I think it would probably cover the shadow of the whole arm like this. Just a little bit more curvature there. There we go. But yeah, no. Ryan worked really hard on the campaign. He did the most work out of anyone, being both a GM and like the lead artist essentially for the project. So I'm grateful that he was able to do us one last favor and compile the story into one document. I feel like I'll probably be returning into it a lot over time. I do have a lot of fond memories of playing through the campaign, so I'm glad that a record of it was properly preserved. Don't know if he's still here, but thanks, Ryan. That's right. Thank you, Ryan. Is that actually a problem? Yeah, I think I need to go back and... There's just this one tiny little area that I need to fix on this model. There we go. Oop. There we go. Let's see. A little bit on the shoulder here. An extra part here and there. This looks fun. Cambio. Let's see. Probably a little bit like this. Okay, we'll do that, and... maybe I can just kind of smooth out this section here. Yeah, I think that works. That's how the Ryuki Agito and 5 steps translated Henshin. Oh, interesting. You know what? I didn't think about it, but that is the most direct way you could probably translate Henshin, huh? Into Spanish. That makes a lot of sense. God, I still remember a screenshot that I saw of Gotchard where it's like last week Spanner got to Gotchin got to watch his trauma get revived. They really were putting that man through fucking hell for no reason. I do like the kind of trend that Kamen Rider has of like just dedicating one guy per season to be like a chew toy. Like just the guy that the entire plot and scenario revolves around shitting on. It's kind of fun. You feel a lot of sympathy for the guy, but in a lot of cases the guy sucks in the first place, so it's almost hard to feel bad for him. Love when they destroy their own immortal souls through forbidden alchemy to motivate their son to fight back. That was crazy. This dude was born with negative clutch bones in his body, and so he had to sacrifice the eternal souls of his parents to actually have a chance. Yeah, all that, and he still went 21-3. That's crazy. Like, with all due respect, Mr. Spanner, I just don't think you might be built for this. Oh, 3-21. Yeah, because it'd be win-loss, right? God. That would be a really funny miscommunication where somebody accidentally does like a win-loss record, but they fuck up which one is which, so they go into the fight expecting an easy clutch, and they're suddenly locked into a life or death battle with like the most competent person they've ever fought. You said this guy was 321. No. He's my bad. I got it backwards. He's 21-3. 21-3. And like you just hear explosions in the background. Okay, then over here. I do think it's hype as hell when a game which normally shows you like the win-loss ratios for a specific character goes out of its way to like give a really noteworthy character like a unique term. Like instead of saying like 99-0 for the win-loss ratio, it would just say some shit like undefeated. I think that's hype as hell. Okay, and then over here. There we go. That reminds me of somebody once saying that they wanted to see an Arknights fighting game where a lot of people had, where like everybody had like unique, you know, kind of noteworthy titles. Like Amiya would have, you know, the Hope of Rhodes Island or something like that. But meanwhile, Neon, who is arguably one of the like most powerful characters in lore, would just be called unemployed as her title. That shit also cracks me up. The reverse being true, like instead of them having like a super badass epithet for being the strongest person there, they just have an epithet that reflects like a very unsavory part of their personality. Because it's not wrong, she is technically unemployed. Or I guess technically not, I don't know. It depends on how you view mercenary work. Whether you see it as like gainful employment or not. Are mercenaries neat? Or wait, no. They're not neat. It would be are mercenaries neats, plural. Yeah, the most relevant part. I don't know. The thing is that I feel like you could make an argument that mercenaries are neats just based on the fact that they are, you know, if you are fighting as part of a mercenary force, you're technically no longer in training. You are gainfully employed, but like you also are probably not in education to any extent. What is the acronym for NEET again? Because I remember NEETs could technically be employed. Hang on. Not in education, employment, or training. Oh, okay, no. A person who is unemployed and not receiving an education or vocational training. Never mind. So yeah, NEETs by definition cannot be employed. So you know what? There is no... my argument has fallen apart. We'll have to dunk on mercenaries another day. Okay, there's also this part over here. I will say that I kind of regret not giving... because I took a look at some of the design docs that I had for Jinsen, and I did have design docs for her having like a pair of antennae in her original sketches, but I'm kind of glad I didn't give them to her. Like, I feel like with the flag pennant ahoge she has, she already kind of has enough going on with her head. National eligibility cum entrance cum laude as the first result. It's like cum laude. Yeah, I also got that, but thankfully the Wikipedia article that got the first hit had the acronym for me. Is there like a cum laude society? Is that like a thing that exists? I feel like it has to be, but it's probably got more stringent qualifications than just graduating from a university or institution cum laude. It's not even that hard to do that. Or actually, no. It can be hard depending on your major, because hang on. I have a university diploma somewhere around here. Yeah, here it is. What's it say I graduated? Okay, I graduated summa cum laude, but that was like a bachelor's of accounting with a minor in thugonomics. So you know, I don't know. More programs probably have more difficult requirements for graduating cum laude. Like cum laude at a bachelor level is not the same as cum laude at a doctorate level, right? Because like if you're graduating cum laude at the doctorate level, that means you're kind of him or her or them. You know, with a capital H, S, or T, depending on your preferred pronouns. This stupid ass tube. I've had to crack open my university diploma like 3 times in the time that I've had it. It's such an annoying pain in the ass that it's so necessary for gainful employment, but it's so useless as a document. The other day I saw a tweet that said something like along the lines of, what was it? Like, your library card should grant you access to a random building in the city to encourage reading. As you know, it was a joke, but I was like, genuinely, I want that. I feel like if you get a university degree, you should be able to travel to a new area of the city like it's a Metroidvania. I don't know. I'm just a big fan of ingress and entering spaces that I'm not fully supposed to be at. Or not even that I'm not supposed to be at, that just I don't necessarily have the... I don't know how to put it. Like, I like exploring. I like wandering around different spaces, and if it feels like I'm in an area where I'm maybe not supposed to be, it is a little bit thrilling. I know an unlocked door hates to see me coming. No, that doesn't seem right. Okay, that seems right. I love exploring, kind of like going to random houses in Pokemon, except not that invasive. Yeah, I like let me be perfectly clear. I don't actually want to like trespass or anything. I don't want to like cause a problem by me being in a place where I'm not supposed to be. But I do like just going into random places and seeing what's good. The other day I went to a show at a distillery in town, and it felt so cool because they just had like all of the machines and devices and shit that they use for normal distillery activities just uncovered for the public to see, and I was thrilled. It felt so cool to just walk around and look at the machinery. I wasn't allowed to touch any of it, but you know, I was still able to walk around there and it felt really interesting. More places should just be open to doing factory tours. Like just loudly advertising, hey, if you want to see what's up, you can just come to our factory and, you know, we'll give you a little bit of a tour. We can organize a day and everything if you're interested. Like, I wish more places would loudly advertise the fact that they're willing to give you a little tour. I guess corporate espionage could be a concern in those regards, but I feel like more places should at least just give you the option of asking, hey, can I take a tour of the facility? I guess there's technically no harm in asking. Yeah, and it can be fun to give tours too, is the thing. I feel like it can enrich an employee's life. You know, not necessarily if they constantly have to cut out of their own work to give somebody a grand tour, but if it's just like, you know, if you're not up to much or you can spare a few minutes, or, you know, even if they book time for you on your weekly schedule to give a tour, you know, I feel like that could be kind of a wonderful experience for everybody involved. Oh, hello, first time chatter and talking about best viewers on stream, boo. What's this guy's name? Agonized Ender. Okay, Agonized Dendirmenti X6JM. That's almost a good username. Unfortunately, you're still going to die. My blast upon ye. Exodia obliterate, that's right. I will say that as bad as the bots are, it does feel less frequent now. Although that might just be because I stream less often. Because I remember it used to be every single stream that I did, I would have at least like one bot sneak in and try to like sell me viewers and shit. Do you think that like I remember seeing an interview the other day where like a big Twitch guy was not a streamer, mind you, like one of the Twitch executives was like, if you're not doing view botting, you're wasting your time. And it's like, is this like an inside job? Is this like an inside operation? Like, is that why they're always there? It was very nefarious. But yeah, I don't like to use view botting, or I'm not really interested in spending money on view botting because this is very much a hobby for me. I can understand people who are in circumstances where like they consider it, but it always comes back to the fact of like, okay, once you like get more like human viewers than you have like bot viewers, then what's the plan exactly? Because I feel like, yeah, you know what? If you're stagnating in terms of growth and you just need to get your numbers up to be noticed, then yeah, view botting is a solution. But like, how do I put this? It feels a lot like power that is easily gained, which is in almost every case power that is also easily lost. Like, I don't know how I would entertain a large scale audience, and I don't think I can do that. I can learn to do that by pretending that I actually have more viewers than I do. I don't know. Something to think about. Maybe I need to go look back at those notes that I took of that one guy, of that one person who did a huge stream on like how to be more professional about streaming. I remember those were pretty extensive, and it got me thinking a lot about like the big C content that I make. The answer of how to grow your channel almost seems to be like the most difficult one to answer. Because past a certain point, you reach a kind of equilibrium where you're not really getting new people coming in unless you kind of like parasitize another community and get their viewers, right? Or, they raid into your channel or whatever. Because a lot of what I've seen is that a lot of people who have gotten bigger, it has almost entirely been, of course they've worked hard, but it also has been like luck that they were noticed by a slightly larger channel, and maybe they got rated into, and that got more eyes on them. It varies from person to person, but there doesn't seem to be a fixed answer, which I think is a good thing. I don't know. I'd like to do more research into it, but I don't know how to do that without accidentally turning evil. Hmm. Yeah, that seems good. Let's add the stripes. How are we for time? We started like 2.5 hours ago. A lot of the streamers I follow, I know from other streamers. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, one option, as weird as it sounds, is to just like parasitize a different streamer's chat. Yeah, because I think, Grandlos, I think you rated in from Zed's stream, or was it V's stream at some point? I don't actually remember how you came to be a member of the audience. I know for my part that most of the streamers that I follow are very much a case of me just following them because somebody else that I followed rated into them or something. I actually knew about you before I got a Twitch account from Taicho. Oh, I see. Oh yeah, I do post my art on Tumblr, so that might so maybe from there. Okay, and then like this. And then like this. And just kind of going on like this. Yeah, I found out about V Ranger on Tumblr via other Futoku fandom blogs and then started watching her streams. Neat! Okay, now we're just gonna do it like... Kinda like this? I feel like that looks a little bit too soft. Maybe I can decrease the luminosity a bit just so that it shows up a little bit more clearly. There we go. Maybe switching the color scheme a little bit too. That looks nice. Do I have time for one more? Maybe. I recently watched this MV. I don't. Let me find who the artist is real quick. It might be. Hang on. Let me see if I can find the name. Okay, it is a name in Korean. Okay, it is made by Samsap. And the song is called Heroine Request, featuring Kasane Tero and Adachi Rai. And it's a really cute music video because it features a lot of art done in like the PC98 style of graphics, where it's just like high resolution enough that it's not exactly pixel art, but still low resolution enough that you can see individual pixels. So it has like a really nice dithering effect on a lot of the outfits. And that has a lot of cute outfits in it, and I want to see if I can maybe use a couple of those. And actually, one thing that I could do as well is... Yeah, well, first let's find a good pose for one of these. Okay. Okay, we've done one with the arm out on the right. We've done one with the arm out on the left. Now, what else can we do? Maybe one that's sitting down? Maybe. This one's also kind of nice. This one's really saucy. Okay, let's try this one then. Yeah, okay, let's just try this one. Not think about it too much. For this one, which one would be good? Okay, let's try this one. Let's go for this one that has a sweater on it. Okay, so for this one, it starts with a sweater that kind of hangs around at the shoulder level. May shorten the line a little bit. Kind of like this. And, okay. Oh, something's weird with the neck on this one. We'll deal with it as it comes. But yeah, maybe a slightly different angle would be good. Maybe one where we can't see the neck quite as clearly. Yeah, this is already much better. Okay, let's bring this back around over here. Okay, and a little camisole down here. And this one's going to be kind of fun because it kind of has a cable knit pattern to it. I might actually need to look up cable knit sweater pattern. Yeah, something like this, effectively. Might just need a couple more examples here and there. Let's see. Oh, this one's fun. This one looks very kind of vintage as well. I like that. Okay, but this one has like the most classic texture. I think I'm gonna have to go with this one. I should save my work. Oops. What's happening? Oh, hang on. I think I just didn't copy it. There we go. And what I might do as well is I might actually just move the hand away from the hip and also just have it pointing. Okay. We'll move the hand down and rotate it a little bit like this, and then like this. That looks good. Okay. Moving forward. Okay. And I think I might have overcompensated for the chest on the model here because her boobs are actually a lot smaller than that. Let's just course correct here and there. Okay. I like that the pattern on this kind of sweater is so chunky. It's kind of nice to just do things like this manually, especially when you don't have to worry about detail like that much, like in these circumstances. I find it difficult to draw clothes like this where part of the hand is covered by the sleeves. Maybe that's something I need to work on. It hasn't hampered me so far, but you know, could be tomorrow. Okay. Okay, that's just gonna come in like this. I wonder what I should make for breakfast tomorrow. I think I might still have some leftovers that are good for breakfast food, so I think that should be fine. How's that look without the mesh? Could use some more work. Maybe just a little bit less volume. Let's try this. Yeah, that could work. And I had the idea of this being one of those outfits where it's like a big sweater with a belt over the sweater. I don't remember the one from the music video had that feature, but I think it would look nice. And that's gonna kind of go like this. Listening to Hero and Request right now? Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? I don't know how to put it. It has like a very old school vibe to it. Maybe it's because it's using like an older Teto voice bank, but it has like this very kind of scratchy quality to the vocals that I feel like are missing from a lot of modern Vocaloid. Which isn't a bad thing. I think it's nice to... It's a good way of showing that, like, you know, the capabilities of tuning have evolved to a large degree. But there's, like, a texture to the older, scratchier vocals that, you know, people who have been listening to Vocaloid for decades, like me, kind of miss. I should not be... I should not have Unk status declared on me just because I don't expect every single song to be tuned like Deco 27. Oh, they have a trans-flag background? I didn't notice that on my watch. Nice. Don't know if it's intentional. It might be, it might not be. Either way, I consider it a win. There we go. Might actually just shorten the skirt on this side just so it makes... Gotta take them where you can? Yeah, that's so true. Okay, how do I make the skirt avoid looking like a pair of shorts? I think the best I can do is just make this happen. Or maybe shorten the skirt a little bit. Because I think this would be past the... Yeah, yeah, maybe just a little bit of shortening for the skirt. Or maybe what I could do is also just make this wider so it doesn't feel as drastic. That might be the move. Maybe the wrinkle not line up with where the edge of the shorts like would be. Yeah. Hang on. Why is this? Why is it fighting me like this? There it is. Yeah, I think I'm just going too tight on this, just in general. So let's try this. Get rid of the belt. This taper down the bottom I really like, though. Let's keep that. Maybe I could just add a random belt. No. I don't know. I feel like that looks a lot better already. Then like this. Very nice. Okay, let's look at that without the mesh. Okay. I need to make the body look... Something about this looks too clunky, and I think it might be because I'm over-exaggerating how much... I'm gonna use the word birth the sweater needs. Like, if I just did this, I think it would already look a lot better. Okay, and then over here, we'll add the belt. And we'll add the little patterns on the sweater. I think those will also help a lot. Ooh. Okay, I'd originally meant for this to be like the silhouette of the boob, but I think I could probably make it better use of it as part of the pattern here. And then just add the little diamond pattern on the side here. Okay. And I'm not gonna make this full pattern in the middle because that looks fucked to make with the kind of on the kind of detail level that I'm working with. So I'm gonna try and simplify it a little bit. Okay, there we go. Honestly, this isn't quite the effect that I had intended, but you know what? I think it's working. Although I do think I maybe need to... Here's what let's do. I'm gonna grab the parts here for the arm. And here's what we're gonna do. Instead of expanding, we're actually gonna shrink them to make the sleeves a little bigger. Maybe this part here, too, come to think of it. Okay, and... Maybe even shrinking it a little bit more might be the right solution. Something about the chest is also bothering me. I think I know what I need to do. Since she's wearing a camisole, I don't feel too bad about just making the chest kind of hang a little bit lower, if that makes sense. Like this neckline here, I mean. Okay, and then over here it's also going to be like these fingers. Yeah, that seems like a good way to approach it. Okay. Okay, besides that, or actually, hang on, maybe I can just shrink it down a little bit. Yeah, okay. But okay, then the thumb is a little bit out of whack. Something like this? I think that makes sense. Yeah, just kind of curving everything here. Oh yeah, I should probably finish drawing the legs, huh? For this one, I actually wanted her to have like thigh-high boots, like very like Devil Wears Prada Chanel boots. I shouldn't bring up that movie since it's been ages since I watched it. I don't remember if those boots were thigh high. I think they were like knee high. Okay. And with a little buckle on the boot as well. I feel like that looks very classy. And I feel like these would be heeled boots. I might need to work on the actual silhouette of these as I go along, but this seems good as a start. Okay. There we go. Okay, so it's gonna go on like this. Nice. You know, I think the reason I'm having struggles with this front foot is because, first of all, first of all, I need to draw this like an actual boot. I think that's my main issue. It needs to be like an actual shoe, not just a big sock with a buckle on it. Sort of like this. And the other reason is because I'm kind of messing up with the, hang on, the foot angle for like a heel, if that makes sense. Because yeah, this would be more like what a heel is like. Okay. Maybe smoother as well. Yeah, like that. And just close off these last little sections, and I think we can move on to the head. Oh, wait, hang on. What if I, like... Yeah, okay. Alright. I'm happy with how the body is turning out now. Time to move on to the head. Okay, I'm taking a risky move here because I don't know what color her tongue would be. I've so far avoided Why is the texture like that on these? Hang on. I think I did something strange earlier. Okay, that looks normal. Okay, I must have moved the layer around earlier without meaning to. But yeah, I don't know what color to make her tongue. If I do make it a color other than orange. Because it wouldn't be fleshy, right? So what? Oh, actually, you know what would be cute? A beret. Or some kind of hat. There we go, something like this. I do like the idea that her ahoge is like a cartilage of some kind, and it has a lot of give to it, but it's still like poking out underneath the. It's like still like smushed in under the hat like an earmuff. The chatter who only sees the world in green. I think green might be a good choice of color. I don't know, actually. I feel like green might be a little bit too festive, but I can kind of see the vision. Because she does have a lot of green in these other outfits. So green tongue would probably suit her pretty well. It works with a brighter color scheme. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I need to shrink her bangs a little bit. A whole cartilage. I do feel like some ahoges are just like normal hair that just tends to stick out a little bit, and some ahoges have like an internal structure. Like some ahoges have like the equivalent of like rebar reinforcements underneath. You know what I mean? Like some of these have like load-bearing structures beneath them. Some of these ahoges come with scaffolding. This one is kind of like a Gyaru look, isn't it? It's kind of nice. Okay, maybe we can actually... The Kagaku means science. I see. You know what? I'm gonna give her ears for this one, just so that she can have earrings. I think that looks cute. Aho Nakotsu. Okay, these Japanese puns are getting a little bit too advanced for my limited understanding. I'm gonna need you to put like translator notes. You're moving on levels that I am unfamiliar with. Nankotsu means cartilage. Oh, I didn't know that. Nankotsu. Okay. God, I really hope that Japanese has a lot of its own Japanese and really other languages have their own words for a lot of like the bones and stuff. Because imagine, I'm going back to my friend who is studying bones right now, and I'm trying to imagine what it'd be like if you had to like transform each of the whatchamacallit, like the bone names from like hiragana, like if you had to read them in like like as English terms. Aho means intelligent. Uh-huh. Sure. Okay, I know what that one means. you're not gonna put one over on me for that one. I appreciate the effort though. That would have been A tier bait. Okay, maybe like this. I need to rewatch my gameplay of Resident Evil 1 because in Resident Evil Requiem, they have some shots where they show pictures of like the old Umbrella Lab team. And I remember I have a memory, and I don't remember if this was either from mine or from like a screenshot that I saw of like the Resident Evil 1 remake where they have this. But I have this distinct memory of like a photo featuring Wesker with him in a lab coat and still having on those stupid ass sunglasses of his. Which is just such an insane look. Like full on lab coat and like sunglasses at night is just in not only at night but indoors as well. It's just like the most insane. Like I think if they didn't understand that Wesker was going to betray them or kill them before, I feel like that's really on them. Because if I had a coworker who showed up wearing sunglasses indoors with a slick back bleach blonde mullet every day of the week, I feel like I would also start getting a little bit nervous about that guy betraying me. Like the dude looked like Snowman from Top Gun. Was it Snowman or Iceman? I think it might have been Iceman. I feel like Snowman isn't a cool enough nickname. But yeah, you had a guy who on your team who looked like Iceman from Top Gun, and you did not. You just had no questions whatsoever about that. Really? Not even a single question. It's like at that point, I feel like you know, for as much as we shit on the BSAA for never locking in, I feel like they at least have the excuse of being on the protagonist side. Umbrella just keeps beefing it, and they have like all of the initiative and money in the world. I don't judge people's looks like that. You know what? That is somewhat harsh on my part. That is wrong of me to do that. Maybe he has a mullet and looks like that for completely non-evil reasons. Okay. Now, from what you described, you're right in this case specifically. Okay, yeah, I guess it is one of those situations where you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but a cover can tell you a lot about what the book is about. Like, don't judge a book by its cover, but also maybe just be on the lookout for what like the book's blurb might be. Like, if the book in question has like a strong motif, has like strong betraying you vibes, maybe you should be a little bit aware of it. You know what, Grand Blast, you were right. Green really it does work for the tongue. I should add a back part of the hair here. And I should also probably remove this intersection here. Me, when I'm in city planning and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna fit an extra lane into my road. What does removing an intersection actually do for the dynamics of a city? I feel like I have a tough time remembering what an intersection actually is and what its functions might be. Like, it's just when two roads meet, isn't it? I don't think that's going to have like a lot of consequences for city planning if you remove that. Another victory for el mejor color. True. Green, I feel, gets overlooked a lot in like what the best color arguments are. Because I feel like it is more versatile than it is given credit for. I feel like a lot of people might just not know how to wear it is the thing. It takes a very specific vibe to be able to wear green, I think. You either got it or you don't. I say without any bias whatsoever. Sitting here in my lime green hoodie. I don't know. I don't know if people associate me more with the color pink or with the color green. Or maybe even with the color white. Okay. And then over here. Okay, just kind of carving this in there. This is looking really nice. I associate it with your general color palette more than a specific color. That's good though. I feel like that's also good because I feel like if I'm a very specific color, then that also limits me in some ways. If I have more of a palette to work with, then I think that's beneficial. Maybe I can kind of do something like this, where it's kind of tapering into the ear. Yeah, I think that looks good. And just rounding this out so so that her face doesn't look too sharp. Being a dedicated green enthusiast has been as much a curse as a blessing. I can imagine. In general, being associated with a specific color has a lot of upsides and downsides because on the one hand, your brand impeccable, but on the other hand, if you are not able to specifically get the colors you're associated with, or like there's no close alternative, it is hell on you. Like I always find myself struggling in games where like they force me to have eyes, right? Like now I feel like I have not having eyes as part of like my identity. So now it feels weird whenever I'm in a game and I can customize a character, but I have to look at their eyes all the time. I usually end up grabbing a pair of sunglasses or something that obscures my eyes in some way. Let's see. There are some workarounds, though. Like I said, I can just slap on some sunglasses and that solves 90% of the problem most of the time. Okay, that's gonna come in like this. It can also be tough because sometimes I feel like you get like situations where a game associates certain colors that you like with things that you don't like to play as. It's like when in a fighting game when the character that you're really good at playing is you think looks ugly for whatever reason. Because I remember when I was first playing Strive, I tried to play as Leo Whitefang of all characters because I liked the idea, and because he was like the closest one to being like a martial artist at the time, right? Because he has those big old sword thingies that he swings around his head, but they're kind of attached to his fist, so they're kind of like knuckle dusters if you squint your eyes. I'm like, man, this guy's just not working for me. But I didn't want to pick Faust because I thought he looked uncool. I didn't like how he looked. He looked a little scary and uncool. And now a Faust main. So, you know, life works in mysterious ways. God, it really is the worst when you like a character or their playstyle, but you think the character themselves doesn't look very good. Yeah, that happened to me. Oh man. What was what happened to you in particular? Like what character did that happen to you with? Because I feel like if you play a lot of video games, it's something that you experience at least once. And it could be a mixed blessing like anything else, right? Like on the one hand, you could say that it gives you a newfound appreciation for a character that you really didn't like that much, but on the other hand, that still doesn't mean you necessarily like them. Trying to think of some examples. I've actually liked most of the fighting game characters I've vibed with. Oh yeah? Who is okay? Let's flip the chessboard around a little bit. Which fighting game character has been your absolute favorite to play as? Like, forgetting the original question for a minute, which is your favorite fighting game character to play as? Makoto Third Strike? Cool. She does have some really nice moves. I like her animations a lot. She's the one that has the karate gi and the scarf, right? I like her design because I feel like she takes things seriously. SA2, of course, but yeah, she's awesome. Nice. SA2, of course, but I want to be the super niche SA3 player if I can get good at the game. Third Strike and Marvel vs. Capcom 3 to me are like the most like this game has some bullshit in it as games that I've ever seen in my life. I think she inspired Luffy's Gear Second. Really? That's interesting. Gear Second is the one where he gets really red and that doesn't really blow up just yet, right? How did that happen? I don't know. I don't know much about Makoto or like her specials or anything. Does she also turn like really red? Interesting. His first Gum Gum jet pistol is exactly like her 236p. Oh wow. Her S3 is an install where she turns red. Okay, well yeah, that that's a pretty compelling argument. It is kind of interesting when that happens. Like it's so fascinating that nothing happens in a void. It does feel a little bit intentional. But yeah, in reality nothing ever happens in a void. So it's kind of but it's fascinating to see just what exactly influences what else. Okay, let's try this. Like on the other day, I read about like the making of No More Heroes and how it was inspired by a surrealist film called El Topo, which I found to be utterly fascinating as I read the Wikipedia summary for El Topo's plot, which is absolutely insane. And it's just fascinating to see what people managed to pick up because how did Suda51 get his hands on the movie El Topo to begin with? And second of all, how did he like manage to translate that into a fantastically vibed game? You know, if you ever have like a spare 20 minutes and it's like not close to a mealtime for you, take a minute to read through the Wikipedia plot summary for El Topo. It is insane. Okay. Instead of sort of like this. And likewise over here. Just a little bit here and here, too. Oh yeah, now I have to do the boots and everything. I feel like I almost need to make these as dark as the actual... Hang on. Like maybe like this for this hind leg. Okay, kind of like this, and then... like this for the leather over here. Leather is an interesting material to try and draw because it has some of the same properties as like latex. If it's like super tight leather. But not always. Not all of it has the same kind of luster. Okay. Nice, nice, nice. Perfect. And just a little bit more hatching here would be good. And just a little bit of a lighter color here. Not that much lighter. Yeah, that should be good. Just read the Wikipedia summary for El Topo. Listen, I did say that it was a crazy ass movie. One that I haven't watched, granted, but my god, those few words can really, really, really send you for a turn, huh? It's a doozy for real. Okay, cut this part off here and just kind of keep going here. I need to make less of a shadow, but more of an impact. Okay, that doesn't make sense as a sentence, but could be kind of poetic in a way. Yeah, no, I think I need to do this. There we go. And a little bit on the skirt too wouldn't hurt. Okay, and I've forgotten to do the... How do I put it? The highlights on the slime. There we go. Let's get to work on that. Oh yeah, I also need to do the shading for the gold. Let's do that first. Just so I don't forget. Okay, need it for the necklace here. And for the earrings here. And for the little brooch on the cap here. I think I missed a spot here. Hang on. Yeah, it looks good. Maybe not like that. Yeah, I think this might be the right approach. Kind of like this, yeah. I need to maybe... Hang on. Instead of making this a straight line, I do need to maybe just be more mindful of the good juxtaposition that can come from overlaying the highlight over the little bit of the shadow, just having those clip over a little bit like this. Not exactly, though. Yeah, I need to be more subtle with it. Yeah, like that. Okay, and then that's just gonna come up like this. And there we go. Maybe I should just, like, hang on. Close gap maximum. No? Hang on. This one's acting weird. Oh, jeez. Hang on. I've got a solution here. Now, this needs to be almost like pitch black. Like this. And what I think I can also do is for a couple of these areas with the leather, I can just give it a little bit more of a highlight. Just a tiny bit more. Kind of like this, and there we go. We gotta get rid of the one that I added here. Doesn't seem to feel quite natural. What I might also do is just add a little bit of texture on the top of the cap here, just to emphasize that this is supposed to be like leather as well. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, we have done some excellent work here today. I'm very happy with what we've accomplished, and I think it's about time for me to head to bed. Or, you know, at least sign off for now. Is anybody else streaming today? I should try and raid somebody at least. Has my background music not been playing at all? This whole time? Oh, that's not good. Has it just been me talking in complete silence? Shit. Oh, that's bad. Oh well.